Gente, vamos a reaccionar al gameplay de Metal Gear Solid 3 Remake, Comedor de Serpientes. ¿Preparados? ¿Listos? Allá vamos, a ver.
Your codename for this mission will be Naked Snake. I'll be referring to you as Snake from now on.
Few games truly deserve
Es igualito.
the remake treatment as much as Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater. Arguably the best stealth action game of its generation, back in 2004 it pushed the PlayStation 2 to its very limits, so much so that the hardware occasionally weighed down its ambitions. 20 years later,
Perdón, os pondré los subtítulos del inglés traducidos al español.
a complete remake from Konami using the power of modern consoles has the potential to unlock the full, uncompromised vision of the game's original creators. Instead, this new Kojima-less Metal Gear Solid Delta seems more like a very shiny HD remaster than the elegant remake it could have been. It's an admittedly beautiful nostalgia trip, but almost faithful to a fault. In a recent hands-on demonstration, I was able to play through Metal Gear Solid Delta's Virtuous Mission, a complete recreation of Snake Eater's prologue built in Unreal Engine 5. It looks every bit.
Esto está construido con Unreal Engine 5, lo estoy diciendo. No hace falta que lo diga, sé que se nota que está hecho con Unreal Engine 5. Está la madre de Dios. ¿Cómo está el videojuego?
As fantastic as you'd hope, particularly when it comes to character models. Faces and clothing are a real highlight. The jungle is the true star of the show though, with modern lighting techniques helping showcase the graphical overhaul to every blade of grass, every pool of mud, and every writhing python. If you're a Metal Gear veteran, you'll know that the roughly 90-minute duration of the Virtuous Mission is dominated by cutscenes and codec calls. It's not the ideal section to test drive any changes Konami has made, visuals aside, particularly since Delta uses the same dialogue audio as the original Snake Eater, and thus all cinematics are frame for frame.
Usará el mismo diálogo que el original. Todas las cinemáticas son idénticas 4x4.
And line for line identical.
Flying over Pakistan, altitude 30,000 feet. Approaching Soviet airspace.
Listen up, Jack. Your mission is to infiltrate Selino Yask in the Soviet mountains, ensure the safety of Sokolov, and bring him back to the West.
But if this slice is anything to go by, any gameplay changes are minimal. Delta appears to be a painstaking recreation of Metal Gear Solid 3 down to the millimeter. Trees stand exactly where they originally stood, the same enemies patrol the same routes, and frustratingly frequent load screens once again divide the jungle into small, self-contained maps. This structure, perfectly preserved from the 2004 original, makes Metal Gear Solid Delta feel so much older than its new high-definition visuals. The jungle is small.
Solid Delta se siente mucho más antiguo que sus nuevas imágenes de alta definición. La jungla es pequeña. Da igual que la jungla sea pequeña. Lo importante es que el juegazo sea... ¿Sabéis? Esto es lo que pasa con algunos videojuegos. Cuando un desarrollador de videojuegos va a crear un videojuego, tiene siempre este mismo problema. Si el juego es pequeño, eso no importa. Lo importante es la calidad. No me refiero a los gráficos, la verdad. Me refiero a la jugabilidad. Cómo se juega, la historia. Incluso a veces la historia puede fallar. Por ejemplo, hay un videojuego que nunca se necesita una historia. Y aún así los videojuegos sin historia funcionan. Por ejemplo, los FIFA, los juegos de deportes, como el FIFA, el MotoGP, los juegos de carreras. Si tú no le metes historia, no pasa nada. El jugador ya se espera cuál va a ser el objetivo del videojuego. MotoGP, correr. Need for Speed, juego de carreras, correr. El FIFA, jugar al fútbol. En este caso el Solid Snake tiene una historia que se debe de respetar, y eso es lo que están diciendo, que están siguiendo una historia y dicen que la jungla es pequeña, pero es que da igual que la jungla sea pequeña, da igual que un videojuego sea pequeño. Lo importante es que el juego tenga jugabilidad, ¿sabéis? Yo pagaría.
Small and claustrophobic, not because of its imposing canopy, but because of its limited play spaces. The loading screens act as hard barriers, meaning what happens in one zone doesn't impact another. Alerted guards can't chase you into a different map, for instance. This lack of continuity between each segment limits your creativity. There's seemingly no way to cause distractions that fool enemies into investigating beyond a loading screen boundary, or line up a perfect shot across the stitching between zones. All of this, of course, was not just forgivable back in 2004, but expected. The PS2 simply couldn't render an entire seamless play space this detailed. But in 2024, the freedom of Metal Gear Solid 5's sprawling maps, which would be perfectly at home retrofitted into Snake Eater's Soviet wilderness, is sorely missing here. I'm reminded of Capcom's Resident Evil 2 remake, which eliminated the original game's iconic door-opening loading screens in favour of a more immersive, completely seamless police station. Without a similar approach, I worry that the overall play experience of MGS Delta won't be significantly different enough from the Snake Eater HD remaster available as part of last year's Master Collection Volume 1, a game with a much lower price point and packaged with 2 other truly excellent games. After playing the demo, I had the chance to talk with Delta's producer, Noriaki Okamura, and I asked why the team didn't opt to bring MGS3's map design up to date. We did debate this internally, he told me. Maybe we should reskin the game into the current open world type map. But after thinking about this, we would definitely have to basically remake the game from scratch, and by doing so it could alter other things about the game, and we decided that that's not the direction we really wanted to take. While the play space of the Virtuous mission is exactly what you remember, Konami has made some smart changes that incontestably make Delta more comfortable to play than its parent. The most important is a modernized control scheme that works in tandem with the over.
Es que fijaos en los detalles de cada pelo del protagonista. Es como si estuviera jugando al nuevo Demon's Souls. Con los graficazos que hay. Me dan ganas de jugar ese juego otra vez, ¿sabéis, damas y caballeros? De hecho lo tengo aquí, sí. Es un juegardo que te cagas. Mirad los gráficos, es que es una pasada, es una bestialidad este juego.
The shoulder aiming, a feature pulled from the 3DS version of Metal Gear Solid 3. This setup is practically revolutionary. The original Snake Eater used inputs that had their roots in the comparatively basic Metal Gear Solid 1, but the increasingly complex and ambitious boss battles demanded a level of fine control that the scheme simply couldn't keep up with. Thankfully, the old, fiddly aim mechanics are now gone, replaced with contemporary trigger-based gun controls that allow for easy, precise headshots. There's nothing in the Virtuous mission that really challenged my marksmanship, but I'm really looking forward to battling the Fury, a boss whose speed and attack patterns were an uncomfortable fit for the original game's clunky controls.
I am the Fury.
Yo soy la furia.
The flames of my rage will incinerate you.
Other welcome enhancements are a quick dial
Tiene un sistema de marcación
system for your codec,
rápida.
allowing you to access vital functions like saving the game by tapping down on the D-pad, while the up button opens a quick select for your camouflage. The 2 remaining
O sea que habrá guardado rápido, eso está muy bien, eso está muy bien.
D-pad buttons cycle through your equipment, which is a minor but solid improvement over the original scheme. More essential is the fact that Snake can now crouch walk, another feature first included in the 3DS version, which practically feels like a necessity in a stealth game. Combined with the refreshed aiming system and modern 3D camera, Snake Eater now plays much more intuitively. However, I will caveat that by saying it still does feel like a game from a prior generation. Snake unfortunately does not move with the fluidity of his MGS5 counterpart. Again, it feels like Konami has missed a clear opportunity to bring modern enhancements to MGS Delta. Provided the entire game follows suit with this demo, I think your feelings on Delta are going to depend on just how faithful you want this remake to be. If you're a purist, then you're in luck. The new MGS team at Konami clearly sees the original Snake Eater as some
Hombre, yo quiero que el videojuego sea original. O sea, que aunque sea un remake, sea fiel, muy fiel al juego antiguo. Eso es lo que se espera a cada fan del Metal Gear Solid.
something of a religious text, but it means Delta's creative vision is held prisoner by the early 2000s. Even the cutscenes feature the same fade to black loading between scenes as the original. Surely something cinephile Kojima would have exercised if only he'd had access to SSDs back in the day. Beyond the updated graphics and controls, there's nothing surprising, refreshing, or dare I say exciting about MGS Delta, at least in this demo. The only significant change we did find was that shooting Ocelot did not trigger the time paradox game over screen.
Es verdad, si te cargabas a Ocelot cambiaba...
What have you done? You've changed the future. You've created a time paradox.
It's not clear if this
Has
omission
creado una
is
paradoja
simply
del
because the
tiempo. Es
demo
verdad
is
que,
not pulled
que
from the
hacían
final version
eso.
of the game. But such a famous Kojimaism being missing from the first press showing of Delta did raise a concerned eyebrow. Hopefully it makes it into the full release. Okamura told me that he wanted to avoid a situation where the series will be forgotten in time, and that the goal of Delta was to make sure we deliver the game as faithfully as possible so it doesn't take away from the nostalgic aspect. That's a noble goal, but I can't help but feel that was the job of the Master Collection. I had hoped Delta would have seen the team upgrade and enhance Snake Eater with ideas from the Phantom Pain and beyond, offering the same story and objectives, but in a more modern, more flexible, and more reactive stealth hunting ground. That could have made it the remake to topple Resident Evil 2 from its perch. Instead, Metal Gear Solid Delta is shaping up to be little more than a prettier, more intuitive version of 2004's most essential stealth game.
Your codename for this mission will be Naked Snake. I'll be referring to you as Snake.
Será serpiente desnuda. El título de aquí abajo. Tu nombre en esta misión será Serpiente Desnuda. Me ha hecho mucha gracia. No sé por qué, pero me ha hecho gracia el nombre Serpiente Desnuda. Está muy bien eso.
From now on, the clock is ticking. This will be a sneaking mission. You must not be seen by the enemy.
For more Konami remakes, check out our preview of Silent Hill 2, and for everything else, stick with IGN.
Muchas gracias, IGN. De momento me ha gustado mucho el gameplay. Si a mí me dan el videojuego, yo lo juego y digo, pues voy a empezar a jugarlo como me gustaría a mí, ¿sabéis, damas y caballeros? No con sigilo, sino a pecho descubierto. Que yo vaya y diga, ¿qué cojones pasa aquí? Me presento, me pongo aquí enfrente y empiezo a cargarme a todo el mundo, a todo Cristo, a todo Dios. Bueno, chicos y chicas, esta ha sido mi reacción. Yo creo que va a ser un éxito el videojuego. Hay gente que se lo va a comprar. Yo no sé si me lo compraré. Sin más me despido. Un cordial saludo. Atentamente, Ozaral. Adiós. Qué buena gente. Qué buena gente.